Scrolling with Haley.
I am Haley Carania. I scroll with the homies here in the live chat because there's a lot to scroll through on X, on Instagram, on TikTok.
Cutting through the clutter, one hot take at a time.
Love seeing you all in the chat before the show. I tried to jump in just a few minutes before to say hello. I love the chat interaction. Thank you for helping. But I do it to get all of the videos and all of the content that you won't find anywhere else.
Scrolling with Haley.
Just search that up and I will be there.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8 a.m. Hour number 2 underway right here on Jocks. We will preview ACC Media Days with Eric Mac Lain, who joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. We'll go right into it. And let's just talk after the top of the conference first, Eric. Where should our focus be when we get away from, we'll say, Miami, Clemson? I don't know if I should throw SMU there or not because I don't feel like they're getting enough love right now. I don't feel like enough people are talking about what they might be this year. But who maybe else should we be discussing that could cause some damage in this conference this year?
Yeah, I definitely think you have SMU there. I think when we walk away from media day here in a week, we'll start stuff tomorrow. I think they'll be the second team that's going to be in Charlotte when the media poll comes out. I think people feel really highly about what the Mustangs are going to do. And Kevin Jennings, being a third-year starter at the quarterback position, was banged up for a lot of last year and yet still, went for over 3,200 yards through the air. And, he's just got to cut down on the turnovers. If he does that, man, he's as dangerous as it gets in college football with what he can do with his legs and how good he is with his arm. I think the best thing for him going into this season is Rhett Lashley, head coach there at SMU. He believes they have their best stable of running backs that he's had maybe since he's been there. So certainly as and as Greg knows, it helps everything when you have a run game and when you can be balanced and have that attack. So I certainly think SMU is one of those teams. Louisville and Keenholtz coming in, transfer from Ohio State at the quarterback position. They feel really good about him and maybe as dynamic as a quarterback as this staff has had with Coach Brom leading the way. All they have done is win when he has been at Louisville, and can they get back, to the ACC championship, the nice run they had in 23 there, with Jack Plummer, this guy much more electric with his legs, Lincoln there at quarterback, and just when the ball comes out of his hand, man, it's hot. It's coming out in an absolute hurry. And then I think it gets really interesting, is Pittsburgh with Heinschel in year 2 going to be electric at the QB position? CJ Bailey at NC State, not a lot of expectation from the Wolfpack this year. That's kind of when they thrive. And then, of course, the team in Virginia that was just in the ACC championship and literally a play away from being in the college football playoff. How do they reload? I trust their talent evaluation as good as anybody in the country. They can't go and hang financially with the big dogs and go and, pay for all these crazy transfers. But, man, they can get an undersized guy and get 5-star production out of him. So I think they did another great job in the portal, and I like the team that's going to run out there.
Looking at the ACC, it's really interesting, I feel like, this year. I feel like you have Miami that's a clear cut above. I have a lot of confidence that they'll be there at the end. But I'm having a tough time determining which of the three I like the most. So I'd love for you to tell me who it should be. SMU, Louisville, Clemson. Who do you think is next up in your eyes?
Well, I think there's more known commodities with SMU. I think just because of and really it comes down to quarterback, as it always does, right? I think we don't know what we're going to get from Clemson at the quarterback position. I saw, Vizina in one game last year as a starter against SMU, funny enough, and SMU's pass defense was just about the worst in the country. And he was fantastic. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, everything you want. But they lost. They couldn't figure out how to get over the hump there, at home. But around him, I think Clemson is as talented as Miami. I think when you look at the overall body of work and who they have, it should be there. Now, it was there a lot last year, too. They had 9 draft picks, the most they've ever had, tied for the most they've ever had, and it didn't equate in the win column. But I just have to think Coach Dabo Swinney is still one of the best in the world at what he does. I think there's a monumental chip on that shoulder that's not being created by him, right? Like he's been the master motivator and that great run that Clemson had. He's still trying to find ways to make them the underdog. Well, now you are. I mean, there's hardly anybody, I don't think, giving Clemson the credit that they used to, which is understandable. So I think all that's there, and that motivation that we're going to see from Clemson. I mean, it's a bunch of guys on the team right now that, man, they haven't really won anything. There's probably a couple leftovers from that ACC championship game a handful of years ago, but other than that, these guys haven't won anything, and so they're hungry. They're on the clock, and it's time to go. So I think it comes from one of those two. Louisville, I don't think quite there. I think they certainly can find a way, but it's going to be SMU or Clemson, and more known commodities right now from I know what I'm going to get on Saturday is SMU. So like I said, I will not be surprised when it's SMU and Miami come Friday and media day's over.
What do you anticipate from a former known commodity? Not that it's not known anymore, but it was normally in this conversation, and that's Florida State. Adding Ashton Daniels, a couple other pieces, both through the coaching staff and in the roster. Can there be any sort of a bounce back this season for the Seminoles?
It's funny, Cole. I'm actually higher on the Noles probably than most. I did a preview show for them the other day, and I'm just looking at this roster. I'm like, man, the top is nice. Like the top three receivers, I think, can be electric. Can they be healthy and stay on the field? Deuce Robinson's as good as it is in the country. I mean, size, speed, catch radius is freaky. I mean, this guy is tremendous. And now he's actually probably going to get a better passer in Ashton Daniels coming in. And so I think Ashton, what he did at Stanford, obviously we're very familiar with him and what he did in those last couple of games, at Auburn. Cole, you probably know more of that situation. I'm sure Jackson was paid a lot more money, so he had to be the guy. But I think Ashton at the end of the year was just as good as him, if not better. And that's what you saw, from the Auburn Tigers, almost beating Alabama there with the, heroics of Ashton Daniels. So what he brings to the table, I think, is going to be really interesting. I think it's certainly more of what Mike Norvell wants, kind of that balanced guy that certainly an athlete can use his legs, but just more of a polished passer than they had last year in Tommy Castellanos. And then defensively, just, they were upper middle of the pack, nothing outstanding, nothing that blew your mind. But, year two with Coach White at DC, a couple of guys that were young freshmen that needed to step up did last year. Well, now they're a year older. So I think we're still going to see some fight there. And obviously it's a much talked about thing that it's the hot seat in Tallahassee. But, I think getting to 7 wins is kind of the magic number to continue to build and keep going down there.
Yeah, I think they just have good frontline talent. I'm with you. The consistency and the buy-in, like they had good frontline talent last year. They had good frontline talent 2 years ago, and for whatever reason didn't work. Like why? Help me understand why.
Yeah, the 2 years ago thing, I mean, I think a lot of that had to do with quarterback. I mean, you bring a guy in that's a concrete statue that doesn't move in an offense that needs to have a dynamic guy back there is certainly, the thing. But last year, man, I mean, listen, I've never been a part of those teams, and I'm sure y'all haven't either, but when you beat somebody like Alabama, and it's your championship essentially, right? And, oh, my God, look at what we did. We did this and that. And they just thought they were better than maybe they were. They got kicked in the face against Virginia, and then after that it was like they were so shell-shocked they didn't know what to do. I mean, they still were able to put up numbers, the number one offense in the ACC the entire season, but it felt like a lot of guys were checked out. It felt like a lot of guys were, too good to do the extra stuff. And I think that's something, some growing pains that you have to go through that now, this staff is fully aware of. You see what it takes. And they went out and reloaded the entire offensive line. I think they got like 15 guys on the offensive line. Hopefully 5 of them are worth a dang, and they can put them out there and continue to be consistent. But you're right. I mean, talent has seemingly been there. It's just, is there enough talent, and can this staff get the most out of it consistently for a full year like they did in 23?
Is there a sleeper that you see right now? You're kind of on the edge of saying, hey, this team's going to break out. You want to get to media days, hear what the coaches, players have to say, kind of feel them out, but they're kind of knocking on the door for you to be a surprise team?
Yeah, I think Cal has that written all over him, man. When you have a quarterback who's a true freshman, and Jaron Kiave Sangapolatele, that is electric, right? I mean, that guy was so good a year ago and seemingly didn't have any help. Well, now you bring in a new, head coach that played there in Josh Lupo, who was an amazing player, as good as of a recruiter as there is in the country. And now it's his show, and he kept that guy. I fully expected JKS to be somewhere else, but he's there, and they kept him. I think if Cal can get the defense to what Josh expects, and if they can get a little bit more out of the run game from just one guy who's moved on, I think he's at SMU now, you need a little bit more help there. They'll be close, because when you have a quarterback that good, man, he can be an eraser. He's going to hide a lot of things. Avoiding the sophomore slump obviously will be fascinating, but I think Jaron, when you talk about next level good, he's got the size, he's got the anticipation, massive arm. I mean, rocket launcher arm, can do all the throws. He's going to be really fun to watch this year. And how much can great quarterback play, take you to places that maybe your team isn't quite ready, but that guy's good enough to carry you on his back there.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think Cal is going to be much improved from a talent standpoint, but putting it all together in year one, I think will be a bit challenging. Virginia Tech's a fascinating one for me. Just with James Franklin coming down, I think they have a chance to be dangerous, but there's a lot of new, not that dissimilar to what we just talked about with Cal, a lot of new. So how realistic is it to expect Virginia Tech to surprise some folks this year?
Yeah, I think they certainly are, and I think the ACC needs that, right? We talk about, brands and elevating a conference and taking the next step. Well, Virginia Tech's one of those brands. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever visited there, if Greg, you've ever called a game there, but they have been mediocre at best since I've been in this business, which I'm going into my 8th football season, which is crazy to think about. We have been there multiple times, and their football team has sucked, but there is not a seat in the house in that place. And it is as electric as it can be for as long as it can be. And then, of course, the team doesn't do their part and things fizzle out. I cannot imagine what that place is like with a top 15 team. I cannot imagine if they have something to truly cheer about and add on, what that place is going to be. And now you have a guy, right, and James Franklin, who I think, again, I talked about the Dabo Swinney chip on his shoulder. This guy's got a freaking boulder, right, because he's fired, he's embarrassed, he's one of the best in regards to winning percentage and things of that. And he's not taking an analyst role. He's not taking a TV job. He's going straight in to a program that recruits against the place that just fired him, that is in that, kind of mile radius where they're going after the same guys. And I guarantee he'd love to see them one day. And so, what does that look like? How quickly can he compile the talent? Number one transfer portal, class in the ACC, a really strong class this next year, won't affect this year, but coming in. So he's already making waves. The financial investment that Virginia Tech has placed, bringing in a new athletic director, there's a lot of recommitment, reevaluation in Blacksburg right now that understands we've got to get this thing back. And so you bring in Gronkmeyer from Penn State, who I think was great the last 4 or 5 games of the year, saw great improvement there, fantastic tight end that was, obviously his go-to guy. And then you add some pieces, Quayshawn Brown from Duke, you keep a guy that was there a year ago that was really a burner. So I don't know, what that impact will be year one. I think, honestly, with the difficulty of the schedule, too, and just some of the unknowns with the amount of guys they bring in, if you're 6-6, win a 7th in the bowl game, that is a fantastic foundation for these guys to build. To then is that sleeping giant from Virginia Tech that, 2 decades ago was elite. Are they kind of back to that where they're keeping that DMV talent? They're keeping that 757 Virginia Beach talent that has been so prominent and such good players. And now they're a key stakeholder, in the ACC and in the national landscape.
Eric Mac Lain of the ACC Network, former Clemson football player, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. We kind of skipped over some of the top of the league because we wanted to discuss others that aren't getting enough run. But Miami, kind of the standard right now, and filled a lot of holes with what they lost from a season ago. I feel like what they have left and brought in on the defensive line should offset a lot. Quarterback, obviously, we know bringing in Darian Minsup should offset the loss of Carson Beck. But are you as much of a believer as some that a couple of true freshman offensive linemen can be plugged in and that group can still be close to what it was a year ago?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting challenge. I will say I'm very high on the Canes. I mean, I think they're a national championship type team. I think when you look at the roster, it certainly is that. But as you just mentioned, that's going to be a focal point. But at the end of the day, I don't think I will ever be concerned about a Mario Cristobal, Alex Mirabal offensive line, right? Like those guys do it as good as anybody, and they, evaluate, produce, and develop the best of the best. And so, you've got a true freshman in Jackson Cantwell, which, Cole, I don't know if you've seen him in person. It's one of the biggest humans I've ever seen. I mean, he's 6'7", 320, 330, and strong as an ox. I mean, he might be their strongest offensive lineman as a baby, as a true freshman. A guy that was a thrower in high school, super explosive, but it's going to be that, baptized by fire. How quickly can you, change to this level and use all that athletic ability, to your advantage? You've got a 5-star in Sampson, who's just going to be ready. And I hope he's beside Cantwell. I hope he's at the left guard position, because I think that knowledge and that understanding will certainly help, Jackson. And then you've got some other guys that have played a ton, but just haven't been the guy. And Sampson's a part of that as well. So it's a lot like my kind of Clemson 2015 team, where it was a bunch of first-year starters that it was just their turn. And are they ready for the challenge? I think 100%. But there's so much around them. I mean, Malachi Toney is as good as anybody in the entire country, maybe the best player in the country. Mark Fletcher, we all saw what he did in the college football playoff run, and he's only going to have more momentum. And then the addition of, Darian Mensah, who was the second best passer in the world last year statistically from a yardage and touchdown standpoint, coming off of an ACC championship game. There's a lot to be excited about in Coral Gables, and I think those guys don't miss a beat. I think the Miami train is fully rolling and off the tracks.
Eric, great stuff, man. Thank you for helping us preview ACC Media Days. Always enjoy catching up with you. Let's do it again soon.
Y'all too, man. Thanks for the opportunity always. Y'all be good.
There you go. Eric Mac Lain joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, discussing ACC Media Days, which begin tomorrow. And we'll have Andy Bitter on at 9 to talk a little bit more Virginia Tech. I feel like, kind of like what Greg brought up, the expectations are starting to mount in Virginia Tech. Like, I don't really know why, but they feel like they're starting to – there's a lot more positivity that's beginning to roll around the Hokies than I kind of feel is warranted year one. But, hey, maybe. Let's take a look at that. Take a look at kind of some of what else we're looking at from the FPI perspective as Auburn's season is concerned. We haven't really discussed that yet. First, I'll tell you about Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group. You're looking for a home in Central Alabama, 205-542-1996 will get you in touch with the Gusty Goulas Group. You can also go to GustyGoulasGroup.com. Google Gusty Goulas Group. You're going to see over 850 5-star Google reviews. Since 2012, Gusty Goulas Group recognized nationally and locally as Greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. And the Gusty Goulas Group has served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the Greater Birmingham area. Think about that. Over 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the Greater Birmingham area. Brokered by eXp Realty. They know the market. So if you're looking to get into a new home, if you're looking to get rid of your home in Central Alabama, call 205-542-1996 or go to GustyGoulasGroup.com today and start packing. Let's take a look at Auburn's FPI. Their thoughts on the season next on Jocks.
Don't leave Jocks back at the house. Download the Jocks 94.5 app and take us anywhere, in the car, at work, or at the game. Live audio, video, and podcasts on your schedule. The Jocks 94.5 app, wherever you may be.
Scrolling with Haley. Join Haley Caronia as she scrolls through the biggest headlines.
If you haven't watched this show before, we do blind reactions. I have not seen these videos, so I am seeing them for the first time with all of you. We're going to implement the tinfoil hat time segments and all the stuff you know and love. And I'm going to finish the show and answer some of your questions. Someone asked me what made you get into podcasting, and I was producing podcasts for other people. And I was like, I could do this for myself, and here I am.
Scrolling with Haley. Follow and listen on your favorite platform. Jim Rome takes on sports.
I will always have a complicated relationship with this game, but people evolve. So do sports. Do not make me regret this. Do not make me devolve back to that guy that so many clones wish that I still was. And do not embarrass the entire country. Now, I can go back. I can get there fast. Lose tonight, and you got a real problem. Do not blow it.
The Jim Rome Show podcast.
You've been warned.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.